Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Joy Reid Reaction Stream. Now, we have about 10 minutes until Joy Reid's show starts, so I'm going to give people some time to come in to make themselves comfortable. I did realize that on my Live at 5 stream earlier, I forgot to do the tarot card. I was supposed to do Tarot Tuesday on Wednesday, and so we will be doing a tarot card today, and it's going to be a good card. We're going to pick out a good card today. This card is all about abundance. This is like women dancing and frolicking, and that they're doing that because life is good. Even when crazy stuff happens, there is still so much abundance and beauty and joy to have in the world. And I think that this is a perfect start to Joy Reid Reaction Stream because let's be honest, Joy Reid is insane. MSNBC is also insane. We might even roll reaction stream into Chris Hayes tonight if I'm feeling up to it. I think we might. And I was just watching some Ari Melber getting ready for the stream and getting my MSNBC setup all ready to go. And you know what Ari Melber said? Ari Melber was like, wearing a mask is like driving 10 miles below the speed limit. It makes things safer, but it doesn't guarantee you won't get into an accident. They were talking about how Biden has supposedly created more jobs in history than like any other president in history. And it was like, man, we're in for it tonight. Ari Melber is probably one of the more... Ari Melber looks so haggard. Holy shit, that guy does not look good. And he's probably one of the more sane people on MSNBC. But we're going to be rolling into Joy Reid in about nine minutes. And the reason I like the abundance card for this is that even though the leftists, like we're going to watch tonight, control every major media outlet in the country, even though they control all our schools, they control corporations, they control the military, they control everything, we can still come together and find joy, no pun intended, and abundance and luxury and laughter and all of these things, which is exactly what we're going to do as we make fun of Joy Reid starting in about 8 minutes. Now, I do have a cocktail with me. My husband was nice enough to bring me home a bottle of wine. I like this wine, the Apothic Red. It's like a supermarket wine. I'm just going to pour myself a nice glass. If you are drinking a cocktail, please let us know what you're drinking in the chat. Maybe you're watching on YouTube, maybe you're watching on Odyssey, maybe you're watching on Rockfin, maybe you're even watching on Rumble. Yes, I am live streaming on Rumble now because I know some of you prefer Rumble and I like to make you happy when I can. So I am live streaming there as well. I will mostly be paying attention to the chat on YouTube though. Oh, hang on. My sound just went crazy there for a second. I was hearing it in my headphones like, like, what the hell's going on? No, I fixed it. Anyway, pour yourself a cocktail. Let us know what you're drinking in the chat. It looks like, ooh, Melissa's got a Moscow Mule. I like Moscow Mules. Those are pretty great. So we're going to... Oh, Fender Bender. Oh, you don't know who Joy Reid is? Fender Bender, you are in for a treat, my friend. You are in for a treat. What we're doing basically is leftist infiltration. We are watching what is on leftist media, the most crazy leftist media in the world, and we are doing that because you cannot defeat your enemy if you do not know your enemy. So we will be getting started with the stream in about 7 minutes. Until that point, I'm going to do some shameless shilling. If you have not heard, I have written a book. It is called Actively Unwoke. It is a book filled with case studies and practical ideas about how you can fight back against woke insanity in your life. My book is currently available for pre-order on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all the other places. I have both Amazon and non-Amazon options. You can pre-order the book right now by going to activelyunwoke.com. This book is your decoder ring for the woke. There's like 4 chapters on how to understand what's going on in our reality. There's chapters on how to fight back in the schools, how to fight back in the government, how to fight back in your workplace, and how to fight back to create culture. There's a chapter on what to do if you're canceled. There's a chapter on self-care when you're fighting back against the woke. This is a highly practical guidebook, the ultimate guide to fighting back against this chaos, the only book that has been written about this woke nonsense that actually gives actionable, real world advice and strategies and case studies of people just like all of you who have fought back in your normal lives. You can pre-order that right now. You can also sign up for some free webinars that I've got going on Friday. We're going to have Nicole Solis come and teach us how to write public records requests to piss off the schools. Next week, we got Paul Rossi coming. He's going to show us exactly what is in the teacher diversity trainings that our tax dollars are paying for. You can also sign up for a book club we're doing in my locals community. I'll tell you more about that in a second. I will be doing an introduction to critical race theory with practical evidence and real world examples of how it manifests itself on February 24th. You can sign up for all of those totally for free right now on activelyunwoke.com. And it would really be great if you could share all of this out to your friends and family so that they can participate as well, especially my intro to CRT webinar, because a lot of people have heard of critical race theory. They don't really know what it is. And so if you really want to help me out, in addition to subscribing to my channels, in addition to mounting that like button, please share these webinars. I'm not doing them for my health. I'm doing them to help people understand what's going on. And if you have people in your life that are just being introduced to this topic, this is going to be a great resource for them to have. AM says, drinking Cakewalk Vanilla Cream Ale imported from Traverse City, Michigan. Ooh, that sounds delightful, AM. Ooh, I wish I had one of those. The other thing you can do if you want to help me out is to join my locals community. You can do that by heading over to kb.locals.com/support, and you can join for $5 a month. You can join for $50 a year. You can also make a one-time gift. You can also make one-time gifts through PayPal and crypto options. All those are in the description below the video. But I like it when you join my locals because my locals is the best. It is a community of like-minded people that are all sick of this woke leftist bullshit. And we get together, we talk about it, we strategize what to do, we help each other out, we support each other, we keep each other sane. You get access to lots of features in my locals when you become a member, including we're doing our next Bitchcraft on Saturday at 3 p.m. Bitchcraft is a time where we get together on a Zoom and we talk and we craft. We bitch and craft. That's why it's called Bitchcraft. I will be knitting, as knitting is the far superior craft. You can do whatever you like. You can crochet, you can quilt, you can do needlepoint, you can draw, you can paint, you can fold your laundry. You can just come and hang out with us if you don't have a particular craft that you would like to do. But you get access to that when you join my locals. You also get access to this book club that we're doing coming up we're reading a book called The R of the Mind. I can't say that word on YouTube, but it is a fantastic book about how totalitarian regimes imprint their crazy ideology on the minds of their citizens. And that is highly relevant to what's going on today. I've got woke whistleblower Aaron Kinsvatter from the University of Vermont. He's going to come and talk to us about this book. He blew the whistle on how crazy UVM is in their practices. And he introduced me to this book, and we're going to have a great conversation. And you get that by becoming a member of Locals. Also, just a reminder, we got 2 minutes left to go before Joy Reid Crazy Time. Tomorrow, I will be live at 5 on my channel. I'm streaming live at 5 on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on my main channel. Tomorrow, we'll be having a conversation with Harrison Kemp, who is a candidate for governor in Maine, and he is an anarchist. And it is going to be a great conversation, and I'm really looking forward to it. All right, let me get all set up here. Let me get all set up with my sound and all this stuff. MSNBC is going to come back soon. It's on a commercial right now, but let me just make sure the sound works. It's not on right this second. Okay. Let me know if you guys hear the sound. Do you guys hear the sound? Chat and let me know. I just turned it back down again because it's on a commercial. Oh, we haven't done a Joy Reid reaction stream in a while. These are fun. Joy Reid reaction streams are fun. Let me see. Oh, got some spam going on Rockfin. Anyone watching on Rumble? Not yet, it looks like. That's all right. Let's see. Oh, Tyrone is 23 years sober. Congratulations, Tyrone. Yeah, knitting does rule over quilting. Absolutely. Every day of the week. Okay, James says the sound was on. Cool. I'll turn it back on when oh, yes, you can pound that like button. You don't have to mount the like button. You can caress the like button. You can, if you want to get out some aggression on the like button, you can do that. But definitely make sure you do whatever you want to do to that like button. That's how we roll on Joy Reid Reaction Stream. It's going to be great. And guys, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. YouTube has a magical way of unsubscribing people from my channel in the dark of night. They do it every night. It's pretty rad. Some of my regular viewers have actually been unsubscribed mid-stream before by YouTube, those fuckers. So make sure you're subscribed if you would like to be. All right, it looks like I don't know what Lawrence O'Donnell's complaining about. Oh, Matthew, I'm drinking alcohol. Yes, I have a nice glass. I have a nice glass of red wine. Cheers to all of you. Can't get through Joy Reid reaction stream without having something if you're like me. I mean, some of you are sober and God bless you for it. All right, let's turn it up. No, we're still on Ari. He's going to transition.
Quite a news day from the House subpoenaing Peter Navarro to a lot of developments on COVID. Thanks, as always, for spending time with us. We are out of time, but you're in luck. The readout with Joy Reid.
Oh, yes,
right now.
we are in luck.
How you doing?
We are
It's been a very busy day for you, but even though you're physically going to be allowed to leave the studio now, our folks are going to see a little bit more of you coming up very shortly, and I think you know why, because you've done some pretty interesting interviews lately that we're going to replay some of. So cheers on that. Joy. Have a good evening. All right, good evening, everyone. We begin the readout tonight in the halls of Congress, hallowed, revered, sacred to some, but also historically
incivility.
Ooh. Back in the bad old days, between 1830 and 1860, members of Congress engaged in at least 80 acts of physical violence, something we know thanks to historian Joanne Freeman. In the 3 decades before the Civil War, when debates about slavery dominated politics, you pretty much needed a bodyguard and a black belt in something.
I really think we need more violence in Congress, not less. I think more would be good.
Actually pretty
They all deserve it.
According to the New Republic's review of Freeman's book, congressmen, back then they were all men, quote, routinely threatened each other with violence and often acted on it too. They brawled on the House floor. They faced off in duels. In 1859, an anti-slavery senator from Massachusetts was beaten unconscious during a caning by a pro-slavery South Carolinian.
That anti-slavery senator was a Republican.
So fast forward to 2022.
By the way, which she's not going to tell you that. Just anti-slavery, Republican. That meant Republican.
Keep in mind that metal detectors are. And that not too long ago, armed rioters overtook these hallowed halls to demand that legislators be lynched.
Oh my God.
They even brought a noose. Congress, as we now know, has never really been the safest place to work.
One single news for all
Altercations
those people.
are growing as the Republican Party continues to embrace thuggy behavior as its guiding light.
Brought a noose.
We saw another heated exchange this week between Congresswoman Joyce Beatty of Ohio and Congressman Hal Rogers of Kentucky. Beatty, who is chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, ran into Rogers outside her congressional office.
You know how this is going to go.
Wearing a mask when they entered an elevator.
Not wearing a mask is violence.
Beatty told the Associated Press she asked Rogers to put on his mask, to which he grudgingly agreed. But then, when the two lawmakers crossed paths again, entering a train in the Capitol complex, the interaction turned hostile. Beatty said she asked Rogers again to put his mask on.
Not wearing a mask is violence.
Poked me in the middle of my back and said, "Get on the train." Beatty responded, "Don't you ever touch me." According to Beatty, Rogers replied, "Kiss my behind." He didn't say behind. In a video taken by her office, Beatty can be heard confronting Rogers on the train. Now, you can't see them right away, but just take a listen. Now, in case you couldn't hear that very well, that was Congresswoman Beatty saying to Rogers, "I'm a member of Congress like you, and I'm a woman. You will not disrespect me. You picked the wrong woman for that." Less than 2 hours after all 56 members of the Congressional Black Caucus stood on the steps of the House and demanded an apology.
Oh my God,
Rogers
what
did just
a goddamn
He tweeted,
waste of
"This
time.
afternoon, I met with Representative Beatty to personally apologize. My words were not acceptable,
bent the knee.
and I expressed my
Now,
regret to
he
her
should not have touched her in any way. I have
Congresswoman
her,
Joyce Beatty of Ohio, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus.
I have her side on that. He shouldn't have touched her. But he also bent the knee and apologized because he's a cowardly Republican. That's what they always do. You never bend the knee, you never apologize, but you don't touch other people, man. Keep your hands to yourself. That was where he went wrong.
Auntie, every black mother of the church, you inhabited and embodied that in that moment. He should have known what he was getting into when he tried you. He did try you. He did apologize. Talk a little bit more about
the trauma of a white man not wearing a mask in your vicinity.
In your view, connected to the protest, really, on your behalf by the entire CBC?
Well, first of all, thank you, Joy, for inviting me
What
here.
a coward
Yes, I think
apologizing.
it was a culmination of a lot of things.
When are Republicans going to find their
I
balls?
had said to him face to face, I wanted an apology. I did go to our Sergeant at Arms and all of our leadership team and told them that I was not going to stand for this.
If he apologized, I'm going to bet he actually did touch her. He should not have done that. He should not have touched her.
Several of his members that, I messed up. And he then came to the floor without a mask to tell me that he was apologizing. And I said to the leadership, I'm not accepting this. The Congressional Black Caucus was very angry. And as you mentioned, they went out.
So you hear what she just said? She said that that congressman came to the floor without a mask and said he was going to apologize. And she's like, I'm not accepting your apology. You are not wearing a mask. And then they all went and protested after he already said he was going to apologize. Stunning and brave, Congressional Black Caucus. Stunning and brave for you guys to protest, demanding an apology after the person has already said they're going to apologize, but he wasn't wearing a mask, so it wasn't good enough.
I'm not someone like what we're dealing with in this hyper-partisan environment of not really having real leadership on the other side of the aisle.
Yeah. And, I went into a deep dive today just on the history of, violence, even, on the floor of Congress. I mean, this is not something that's alien to the body, but it does definitely feel like it's gotten uglier in recent years. I mean, we had AOC, called the B word by a fellow member of Congress. We've had, Marjorie Taylor Greene scream at other members, you sort of menace other members. It's become a thing that people are doing. Do you think it's materially different in Congress now? And do you think it has something to do with the politics in that other party?
Oh, I think definitely. It's different from when I first got there, which wasn't that long ago. I think now, after the last presidential administration, people follow their leadership. You saw what happened on January the 6th. I mean, that's unbelievable when we look back at history that we lived
Republicans never should have apologized.
It's unthinkable.
They never should have apologized.
That's why it's important for us to stand up and to demand
every time Republicans apologize, they hurt all of us.
The decorum of the House.
Every time Republicans apologize, we should basically call them Democrats, because that's what they are.
Being bullied. And everyone who knows me, I'm not going to be bullied. And the Congressional Black Caucus, I've never been more proud of them and our Democratic leadership.
And, the other thing is that, we're in an age now where you have members of Congress who are refusing to go through the mags. After you had the January 6th insurrection, in which every single member of Congress, the United States Senate, were threatened by people who were chanting, hang Mike Pence, that were threatening to lynch members of Congress who were hunting Speaker Pelosi.
Mike Pence is now their hero because he's feuding with Trump.
You would think that there would be some, agreement across the party lines that something material had to change, including in the rhetoric. It doesn't feel like even January 6th has changed anything. Am I wrong there?
No, it has changed nothing because it wasn't a real insurrection. It was not real.
Because the past president
it was real. I mean, I was there, but it wasn't an insurrection. Come on.
Some of those members, keep in mind, he didn't think there was anything wrong with January the 6th, did not think that the election of President Biden should be certified. And there's a big divide in the party, the Republican Party. We saw that just most recently with McConnell and Pence, against what the current minority leader is saying. So
now they like Mitch McConnell too.
In the party, they're very divided.
Mitch McConnell totally pussied out yesterday, and now Mitch McConnell and Mike Pence are heroes on the left for doing the right thing. Mitch McConnell is a hero on the left right now. You guys understand that, right? What a douche.
And calling the January 6th insurrection, this attempt to overthrow a legitimate election, calling it legitimate political discourse. Reporters then started trying to ask Kevin McCarthy if he agreed with that. Here is one instance of him attempting to avoid answering that question.
You know what? Make an appointment in office. Come on back, okay? It's not good. It's not good to do interviews.
Do you feel like if he becomes speaker, he has the strength to alter the direction of the party or even want to?
What
or
if
would
Trump
even
becomes
want
speaker?
to?
Oh God, can you imagine Joy
I
Reid's
don't
reaction
think
if
he
Trump
has the
becomes speaker?
leadership strength or skills, and that's indicative of his behavior
That's
for
indicative of all
the
Republicans. They just
last
don't.
2
They just
years,
lack
4
leadership.
years.
They
There's
do
no
lack
sign
leadership.
of leadership. He has been as responsible for
Mhm.
not passing the Voting Rights Act, not wanting to
Oh, Kevin
certify the
McCarthy.
election.
Kevin McCarthy
that we
didn't pass the
all
Voting
know
Rights Act, so
that
he doesn't have
President Joe
leadership. Okay.
Biden won that election. When you look to how he controls his members, I mean, come on, they voted against, for the most part.
The fact that the Democrats can't let go of the elections tells you all you need to know about how much they fortified the elections. If they didn't fortify the elections, there would be no need to go on and on and on and on and on about how they were real and legitimate, and we just shouldn't question it at all. It has been over a year since Joe Biden got inaugurated. They're still talking about it.
Children who go to bed hungry. They have children who need a better education, but he doesn't lead. And it's unthinkable that he would think he could be speaker and follow in the footsteps
No,
of
we
a
want
Speaker
Trump to
Nancy
be
Pelosi.
speaker. We want
And
Trump.
you talked about Voting Rights Act. I mean, the Brennan Center is out with numbers that are just horrific, just about the extent and the aggression that you're seeing across this country against the right to vote that targets people of color and young people and lots of different people, but it's the anti-blackness is kind of right at the top of it. Talk a little bit about what can be done at this point. You've had Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema stand in the way of being able to pass a fix, a federal fix. Are you concerned, including in your home state of Ohio, that this election will be impeded by the prevention of people being able to actually cast a ballot?
Oh, I'm very nervous about what's happening as we look at redistricting, as we look at some of the opinions coming down from our highest court. I think we have to do a better job of educating and making our citizens and constituents aware so they do come out to vote, because there's so much voter suppression. And I think the real reason for that is when we allow people to vote, Black individuals come out and vote, and Democrats win. We elected President Barack Obama because people stood in lines for 5 and 7 hours to cast that vote. The same thing happened with President Joe Biden. So I think
you would think that the Democrats would fix the voting in these cities that are causing people to have to wait hours to vote. Like in New Hampshire, it takes me about 2 minutes to vote.
Because we win when we vote. And they have a
I mean,
very
these are all
big divide
Democrat-run
with
cities.
that
Why
right
don't they
now.
fix their
They're
own voting
censoring
systems?
Liz
That doesn't make any
Cheney
sense.
because she did what was right.
Oh,
Joining
Liz
that
Cheney, another
select
hero on the
committee
left
and
right now.
standing up for our democracy, and they want to censor her? Unthinkable.
And you know, I know that you care a lot about the U.S. Postal Service. It's been part of your activism politically.
Yes.
One of the big concerns is that you said those long lines. The alternative would be being able to vote by mail, which lots and lots of voters of color took advantage of because of the pandemic.
The alternative
that is now
is to
being
fix the
curtailed.
damn voting
Are you
system.
concerned that there hasn't been a big push to remove Louis DeJoy as the leader of the U.S. Postal Service, given that there's a lot of genuine fear that he is in a position to delay the ability for the mail to get where it's going in the position he continues to hold?
We being the members of the Congressional Black Caucus, we just had a special meeting last night, and we're starting to meet during the late night evenings. And that's one of the things that is on our agenda because it is the most sacred thing for any individual. But when you look at the disparities and you look at history, as you talked about the history of the Congress in relationship to physical actions, look at the history. We just celebrated the first Black man to ever serve in the House of Representatives, Joseph Rainey. So we're going to continue to look at the Postal Service, look at all the things that they're trying to do to voting rights, because it will
a lot of people who are brainwashed by this. They think this is real.
To vote.
This is
whether
theater.
That's shortening the periods,
This is
whether
theater.
That's not having drop boxes, while
Joy Reid gets her talking points from the
DNC. Vote
DNC.
by mail. There's a long laundry list, and we are looking at those things, and you will see action from the Congressional Black Caucus and from the Democratic Caucus.
Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, a leader, the leader of the Congressional Black Caucus. I hope that you'll come back. I would love to have you come back. You are a fountain of information. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. All right,
Ooh,
up next
Trump.
on the Readout, new reporting that the National Archives is asking the Department of Justice to look into Trump's handling of White House documents, possibly including classified documents. Plus, what do those trucker protests in Canada have to do with our toxic politics here at home?
Oh, we're going to talk about
you.
the truckers.
Plus, the Silicon Valley billionaire who will now devote his time and his money full-time to promoting the Trump agenda.
Good.
And we'll be joined by a reporter who puts all the pieces together about why Joe Manchin will probably never, ever support the full Biden agenda.
Good.
The Readout continues after this.
Oh, I love that they're going after Joe Manchin. Oh my God. We got a good show tonight, guys. It looks like this is going to be a banger to do Joy Reid reaction stream to. Now, hang on. I'm just going to mute this real quick while we're on commercial so we don't have to listen to that. Now, let me do this. So Fender Bender said, "We are screwed. I'm in New Jersey and just met with my Republican senator and they think they win if they focus on mail-in voting." Please, if you are watching this and you are a Republican or a conservative, you have got to start demanding more from your leaders, man. One of the reasons I like doing Joy Reid reaction stream and I do happy hours on my second channel, Actively Unwoke, on Fridays, is because we need to see what the enemy's saying, and they're way better at this than the Republicans. I'm sorry, they just are. And this is why Michael Malice says this. Conservatives or progressives driving the speed limit, they walk right behind progressives. They do whatever they want them to do. They just do it a little bit slower. So there is no doubt in my mind that give them a couple of years and conservatives will absolutely be on board with critical race theory. There is no doubt in my mind that give them a couple of years and conservatives will absolutely be on board with mail-in voting. The only thing that can prevent that from happening is if you stop voting for horrible candidates. They were literally just praising Mitch McConnell. They were literally just praising Mitch McConnell and Mike Pence and Liz Cheney. These are standard bearers in the Republican Party. Why is the Republican Party allowing this? Why is the base of the Republican Party allowing this? Why isn't there a massive protest outside of Mitch McConnell's office for what he said yesterday? If he was a Democrat, there absolutely would have been. How many people bothered to write Mitch McConnell an email or call his office and be like, how dare you take their side? I'm going to bet not enough. And this is why they do it. Because they know their base will allow them to. And every single time I say this, people say, Carlin, you're just a secret leftist that's trying to trick us. Okay, keep voting for them. Keep voting for them. See what that gets you. Because Mitch McConnell just threw you all under the bus. He threw you all under the bus. This is why I want nothing to do with the GOP. This is why I become a libertarian. This is why I joined the Mises Caucus. I think that both parties are the same. They're exactly the same. The difference is that the base of the Democratic Party at least keeps them somewhat in check. The base of the Republican Party does nothing. They aren't afraid of you. They know they don't answer to you. I don't know why you don't make them. I don't know why you don't make them speak to your issues. The Democrats force this. And I'm going to keep repeating this until people start to get it into their heads. I know I don't have the biggest audience in the world, but I'm going to keep repeating this over and over and over and over again until people start hearing it. Because it's just unnecessary. And it's really frustrating. And it's like people like me who walked away from the left, who hate the left. I hate the left significantly more than I hate the right. But goddamn, isn't the right more frustrating? Because they don't do anything. They don't do anything. And then they expect things to change. Yeah, exactly. GOP messaging is off. They keep leading with abortion. Like, are you serious? That is exactly correct. The abortion argument is going to win you zero. It's going to win you nothing. It is literally going to win you nothing. Everyone who agrees with you is already on your side. Everyone who disagrees with you is entrenched on the other side. If anything, the abortion argument is actually going to lose you in 2022 because what the voters want is for you to focus on critical race theory. All right, we're back.
Big developments late today,
Ooh,
both relating
breaking
to the
news.
investigations of Donald Trump and his presidency. NBC News has confirmed the explosive reporting from the Washington Post that the National Archives has asked the Justice Department to examine Trump's handling of White House records, sparking discussions among federal law enforcement officials about whether they should investigate the former president for a possible crime. That's according to two people familiar with the matter.
I'm sure
who say
Trump
that
is shaking in
Archives
his
officials
boots.
suspected Trump had possibly violated laws concerning the handling of government documents, including those that might be considered classified. This comes after numerous reports revealed how Trump mishandled official records, ripping up and shredding documents in violation of the Presidential Records Act. Most notably, we learned that the National Archives recovered 15 boxes of White House materials that Trump had wrongfully taken to Mar-a-Lago. Among the documents that Trump
Do you
wrongfully
really
took
think
from the
that
White
Trump
House was
handpacked
this
those
unforgettable
boxes
gem,
himself?
the map of Hurricane Dorian's path that he doctored with a Sharpie in 2019. Guess he's still embarrassed by that one. Separately, the January 6th committee today subpoenaed Peter Navarro, a former trade advisor in the Trump White House, who's better known these days for his efforts to steal the election.
They can't let him
Navarro
go.
worked with Steve Bannon on a plot they called the Green Bay Sweep, which was intended to delay the certification process on January 6th until Mike Pence gave in to their demands. As part of that plan, Navarro authored several flashy memos, chock full of bogus election conspiracy theories, claiming the election was stolen in 6 states that Joe Biden won. Trump distributed those memos to every Republican in Congress, and 147 of them later voted to decertify the results. Navarro was also among the diehard Trump loyalists who discussed plans to overturn the election in a meeting on the eve of the insurrection. That is according to one attendee who said the meeting included Trump's sons, Don and Eric, Michael Flynn, the My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell, as well as Rudy Giuliani and Corey Lewandowski, among others. In other words, Navarro was one of the biggest proponents of Trump's big lie, and Republicans in Congress were happy to embrace his unconstitutional ideas. And let's not forget that this is the guy who claimed just after the insurrection that the impeachment of Donald Trump was tantamount to violence.
Really, did he?
The Democratic Party did violence to this country by attacking a president who I believe was legally elected on November 3rd.
Okay, with me now is Glenn Kirshner, former federal prosecutor, and Kurt Bardella,
That
advisor to
is
the
not
DNC and the
what-
DCCC. Let me circle
I
right
don't
back to the
believe
National
that's what he
Archives
meant.
information, Glenn.
I
Because,
think that was taken out of
you and I talked about
context.
this
I don't know the
before,
context of
it
that, but that
seems
seems like it was cut
likely
out of
that the
context
thing
to me. Does that
will
seem like it was
most
cut out of
likely result
context
in
to you?
accountability,
Seems
legal
like it was cut out of
accountability for Trump
context to me.
will be something other than the insurrection, which is kind of hard to wrap your mind around when you think about how unprecedented it is to try to overturn an election. But it seems to be other things that present him with more immediate legal jeopardy, whether it's the tax evasion, messing with his insurance and levering the value of his
Lisa
properties,
Kay, pull cards.
or interfering with the Georgia election. Here we have a very nonpartisan entity, the National
You don't know the
Archives,
context, it was
which
likely
seems
taken
to
out of
kinda have
context.
Trump dead to rights.
Context
Your
matters.
thoughts on this?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see which government agencies or institutions don't refer Donald Trump for criminal investigation at the end of the day. But, the National Archives story is actually a danger zone for Trump in a couple of different ways. Even though the Presidential Records Act is largely toothless, there is a closely related federal statute. It's 18 U.S.C. 2071. Which provides for criminal penalties for the concealment, removal,
Context
or
lies
mutilation
matter.
of official records. Not only is that a 3-year federal felony, but importantly, anybody who is convicted
If
under
they had anything
that
on Trump, they
statute
already would
is
have charged
prohibited
him.
from holding federal
This is all
office.
bullshit.
But here's the other
If they
danger
had anything
zone.
on Trump, they
Even
already
if
would have charged
strictly
him.
speaking, there is never a charge brought against Donald Trump for criminally removing presidential documents. It's part of a cover-up, and it's part of
Yep, we're
a
seeing the deep state
conspiracy
clearly right in front of us right
basically
now.
commit crimes against the
Exactly
United States
right.
or defraud the United States. That charge was brought by Bob Mueller against the Russian Internet Research Agency for trying to interfere in
Oh
our
God,
free and
they're
fair
still
election.
on Russia.
That's
Holy
precisely
shit.
what Trump and his co-conspirators did.
This is why we watch MSNBC. They're still
domestic
talking about
setting,
Russia. They're
not
still
based on a
talking about
foreign
it.
attack. So the whole removal and concealment of records, in isolation, it might not give rise to a criminal charge, but it may end up being an overt act in furtherance of a larger conspiracy.
Oh yeah.
And you know, Kurt, what stood out to me
They're
too in
absolutely
the reading
preparing
of
for
this
Trump to run
report,
again. 100%.
this journalistic
100%
report
they're
is
preparing
that
for Trump to run again.
the Department of Justice has been very reluctant to even hint that they even might be investigating Donald Trump for anything related to the insurrection.
Is Joy Reid
Even though
married?
they officially didn't comment, this
Who
sort
is
of
Joy
idea
Reid
that they
married to?
may be investigating this, because this is something that isn't tied to politics. They cannot possibly be tied to politics, which feels like where they want to be in terms of their own, you know, sort of appetite for controversy. But this is something that I'm old enough to remember Hillary Clinton getting an announcement basically from the, you know, that you know, she could be in trouble by Comey, who said, hey, she might have taken records home. Hey, there might have been classified records. Hey, her emails. For consistency's sake, this seems like a pretty fertile territory.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I was talking about this on Mary Trump's podcast actually today. And I'm going to take for once an optimistic view, which is very rare for me in these times. If you are going after the former president of the United States, and an unprecedented law enforcement action, something we have never seen before in this country, you have got to have him dead to rights. And you do not show your hand until it's already too late for him, till he's already in your sights and you have him. And part of me is hoping, beyond hope, Joy, that that's what's happening right now with this Justice Department, that we aren't going to hear anything, see anything, get the slightest leak of anything until they're basically taking him away in handcuffs. I have to believe that's what's happening, because the alternative, Joy, is frankly too terrible to contemplate, that all the crimes that have been conducted by this president that have come to light, if they go unanswered, then there's really no point to our justice system.
All the crimes,
Let's
and
move on
no
to Peter
evidence
Navarro.
has been presented
Peter
for.
Navarro
All
basically
the
saying,
crimes
this,
that
I did
Trump
it.
committed that they
He
have
went on
zero
Ari Melber's show and
evidence
said, I did it. Here he
for.
is. We lost it. Okay, let me read you what he said. So Navarro says, if the votes were sent back to those battleground states and looked at again, there would be enough concern amongst the legislatures, and most of these states would decertify the election. Then he said that would throw the election to the House of Representatives. Then he says, I'll say to you here, Ari, and all of this again. And he says, it was in the lanes legally. Oh, do we have it? Okay, let's play it. I think we have it.
If the votes were sent back to those battleground states,
That's why you don't
and
go on
looked at
leftist
again,
media.
that there would
Don't
be
go
enough
on leftist
concern
media
amongst
ever.
the legislatures that
My God.
most or all of those states would decertify the election. That would throw the election to the House of Representatives. And I would say to you here, Ari, that all of this, again, it was in the lanes legally. It was prescribed by the Constitution. There is a provision to go, rather than through the Electoral College, to the House of Representatives. And all this required was peace and calm on Capitol Hill.
Do you realize you are describing a coup?
No, he isn't. Everything you just described is
I totally
completely
reject
legal.
many of your premises there.
No, the premise is actually true. I mean, he literally describes a coup. And then on top of that, we have this Washington Post reporting, Glenn, that Rudy Giuliani, who was in that same little clique, and other legal advisors to Donald Trump, actually literally asked a Republican prosecutor in northern Michigan to get his county's voting machines and give them to Donald Trump's team. The prosecutor says he declined, telling the Post, we don't have the magical power to just demand things to prosecutors. You need a probable cause. I mean, they're describing what they're doing, and they did it very openly. Does the openness of it, I don't know.
The openness of it probably means it wasn't illegal. The openness of it means it wasn't effing illegal.
Because we have this
Jesus
sense
Christ.
that if they're
Not that
admitting
Republicans
to it,
aren't
then
dumb enough to
perhaps it's not
reveal an
criminal, but
illegal
look,
plot. They
Navarro's not
absolutely
taking a
are,
page from
but
Vince Lombardi's playbook. He's
come
taking a
on.
page from Donald Trump's playbook. He knows that he has been caught red-handed with, you know,
if they
these
say it loud enough,
treasonous
it must
memos
be true.
and
Exactly.
reports that he put together. So the only thing he has left is to try to get in front of it and pretend it's not criminal. But, you know, when you put on top of that the reporting that you just read
then
from,
charge
Joy, where,
them with
you know,
something.
this Michigan
You've had
prosecutor was
over a
approached by
year.
Rudy Giuliani
Charge
and Trump's
them with
teams
something.
and said, listen, just collect up all of the Michigan voting machines and give it to us. And the quote from the prosecutor that you read, he said, I can't just say give them here. We don't have that magical power to just demand things as prosecutors. You need probable cause. So, Joy, lo and behold, 2 weeks later, in Donald Trump's draft executive order of December 16th,
right now.
like a magical incantation, Donald Trump says 5 times, I have probable cause. I have probable cause to send the army out to seize all the state voting machines. What he doesn't understand
Did Trump
is
really
that's
say
not
that?
how any of this works. It's not
Did
how
Trump
probable
actually say
cause
he has
works.
the,
So
the
basically,
ability to
between
send the army
Navarro
out
and the
to seize
draft
voting
executive
machines? That
order,
might be a little bit
this is like
sketch.
sedition for dummies.
I mean, I went into the bank and I decided to make
If
you
it
$1 million.
was-
Like, that's not how that works.
If it was
Glenn-
sedition for dummies, then why are you all still talking about it a year later?
Colin and Tizzy about the Canadian truckers protesting common sense car
Yeah.
restrictions. Ooh. But the big question is, who's behind all of this?
All right.
You may not be surprised. We'll be right back.
All right. Now, I want to do a poll in the chat. Sorry, I can only do this on YouTube. When they talk about the truckers, will Joy Reid call the truckers racist? Okay? Will Joy Reid call the truckers racist? Yes or no? Log in your answers right now. This is for YouTube only. Sorry, I don't think I can do this on other platforms. Let me check in. All right. Guys, if you're enjoying the Joy Reid reaction stream so far, please make sure you mount that like button for me. Also, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel. YouTube unsubscribes people from my channel every single night. It's a giant pain in the ass. And so you might have been unsubscribed at some point. Now, I do content every single day of the week except for Saturdays. And even Saturdays, sometimes I'll post clips and things. So if you haven't seen my content lately, if you've just found your way back to the channel, double check, make sure you're subscribed, turn on those notifications if you want like some extra juju, and of course, mount that like button, leave a comment, chat in, do all the things, because maybe, just maybe, YouTube will actually show you my content if you do all of the above. And I really appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel and hanging out with me tonight. We do Joy Reid reaction stream every once in a while, maybe like once a month, until Joy Reid gets fired. Which people think that Joy Reid's going to get fired from MSNBC sometime this spring. So maybe we have to pick up our Joy Reid reaction stream just to get them in while we still can. Now listen, Joy Reid is so insane that I strongly, strongly hope and pray that she does end up in media after she gets fired from MSNBC, because she's just too entertaining. Like, it really is. She is just too entertaining. I don't want to give this up. This is fabulous. Like, this is like, you know, it's Wednesday, it's hump day. We've got some wine, we're watching Crazytown. It's like doing opposition research. They're still obsessed with Trump. They're still obsessed with Russia. It's amazing. Isn't it like peering into a foreign land? Oh, I totally want to go on a Virgin cruise. By the way, I really want to go on a Virgin cruise so bad. It looks so nice. Their rooms are so cool. I was talking about cruising on my stream earlier today. Yeah, Matthew, I thought that was you. Glad to have connected on Twitter. Oh my God, I want to go on a cruise so bad. Oh. Yeah, I agree, Reagan. I like watching the way Joy Reid awkward. She's like, it's so crazy. Oh man, I don't know. Joy Reid gets 20 grand a day to talk shit. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Joy Reid is actually married. I Googled it while we were watching the show. She is married. She obviously wears the pants in her family. You know, good for her. I don't begrudge her that. Guys, if you have not yet joined my locals, you can join for free at kb.locals.com. It is free to join. You don't have to pay to join. You do have to pay a little bit, like $5 a month if you want to unlock all the features. But please, while we're watching the stream, make sure you sign up for my locals. That way, if I ever get a stupid strike for doing Joy Reid reaction stream, if I ever get banned or canceled, you can watch all my videos ad-free on Locals. Locals just launched an app. You can watch them on your TV now. That's pretty great. So make sure you're in my Locals, kb.locals.com. Sign up for free while you're watching the stream if you haven't signed up already. I have the best Locals community on all of Locals, and I know many of my Locals members are in the chat right now. They can tell you all about it, and I hope you guys will join us. Ooh, look at that. The noose that wasn't really a noose. That fucking noose. If that noose wasn't brought by a Fed, fuck the person who brought that noose. That noose has bitten all of us in the ass. But I think it was brought by a Fed, if I'm really honest. All right, let's go back.
Protesters are in their second week of demonstrating against Canadian vaccination mandates.
Truckers
crossing the
95% of you
border.
think Joy Reid is going to call them racist. Let's
Canada
see.
and the United States still partially blocked today. The American right wing has been just salivating over the protests.
Yes, it's a workers' uprising.
The Canadian truckers, you've been reading about it, who are resisting bravely these lawless mandates, are doing more to defend American freedom than our own leaders by far. And we want those great Canadian truckers to know that we are with them all the way.
The Canadian truckers are heroes. They are patriots, and they are marching for your freedom and for my freedom.
Ted Cruz, isn't he? From Canada? And some of those same people who tried to steal our election are now calling for similar demonstrations in the United States.
Yes.
Despite what the right-wing narrative might want you to believe, this isn't exactly a local protest made up entirely of truckers. The Canada Trucking Alliance said a great number of the protesters have no connection, zero, to the trucking industry.
Then
And
how
the
do they
vast
have
majority
trucks?
of Canadian truckers are vaccinated.
Then how do they
And
have
it's certainly
trucks?
nowhere near what the entire country thinks.
Trucks
A
are
recent poll
expensive.
shows that 67% of Canadians want the government to impose further measures on the unvaccinated. But of course, it's never actually been about the livelihood of Canadians who make their living on the
Yeah, I
road.
question the validity of
The
that
Ottawa
poll.
police chief says a significant element from the U.S. was involved in the funding and organizing of the convoy. As Politico notes, some of the same contingent backing Trumpism here in the States are doing this for their own gain, noting that analysis from the Institute for Strategic Dialogue found multiple far-right U.S. groups, including those associated with the Tea Party movement and
Oh
others
my God.
opposing U.S.
Anyone can
vaccine
donate
mandates,
to a
have
GoFundMe.
donated to the GoFundMe
Literally
page
any
for
person
the
in the
convoy.
world can donate
White
to a
supremacist
GoFundMe.
channels shared the link to the
Racist!
fundraising site
Racist!
as well.
Yes, she did.
GoFundMe
Congratulations to the
GoFundMe wound up
95%
shutting
of people
down
who
the
said that
page, a
Joy Reid would
decision
call them
that some
racist.
Republicans,
Yes.
including the Texas Attorney General, are now investigating. And
Congratulations
here's
to
how
everyone with
Canada
the correct
reacted
answer.
to that one.
It is certainly not the concern of the Texas Attorney General as to how we
Everyone
in
drink
Canada
who got that answer right. Cheers.
go about our daily lives in accordance with the rule of law.
Now, if this all sounds vaguely familiar to you, it's because we are seeing these same far-right forces sparking school board fights over racial history and going after voting rights here in the U.S. And they're not just well-organized, they're also well-funded. And when we come back, we will tell you about one particular right-wing billionaire who's poured money
Peter
into far-right
Thiel,
causes
baby.
and social media that have been used for global disinformation, and who has set his sights on making the previous 4 years under the former president the permanent reality in America.
Joy Reid's so serious right now. Yes, so Joy Reid literally gave us no information about the trucker protest and at the same time called every single person who donated to a GoFundMe racist. Any person can donate to a GoFundMe. My God. Joy's probably pissed off that GoFundMe didn't steal the $10 million from the people who donated to the truckers. And now they're complaining like, oh my God, GoFundMe's being investigated after they threatened to steal $10 million. Did you guys notice how much I'm not even following the trucker stuff all that closely. Did you guys notice how much information that Joy Reid left out of that story entirely? I mean, people believe this crap. That was one of the worst segments I've seen on the trucker protest everywhere. They're like, truckers are protesting, but they're not really truckers. And right wing and white supremacist operatives were donating to a GoFundMe. And some of the people donating to a GoFundMe were from the United States and had associations with the Tea Party. Are you kidding me? And now, because GoFundMe shut down the campaign, they're being investigated by red states. They tried to steal $10 million. GoFundMe tried to steal $10 million. This isn't theoretical. GoFundMe defrauded the people on their site. They tried to steal $10 million and they only refunded it once people basically said, no, you're not redistributing our donations to other charities. They should have just left it alone. And better yet, the truckers, quite frankly, should have never used GoFundMe to begin with, but they're Canadian, so we can forgive them. They may not have known. Someone should have told them, though, like, don't use GoFundMe. They're going to steal all your money. Should have used Give, Send, Go. Give, Send, Go, don't steal money. Oh my God. Yeah, they're still calling CRT racial history because of course they are. I wonder who she's got coming up next to school us on why CRT is accurate history. After Chris Rufo kicked Joy Reid's ass and explained to her how she was wrong and living in a state of wrongness. If Chris Rufo gets mentioned, everyone take a drink. That's the rule on the channel. If Chris Rufo gets mentioned in leftist stuff that we watch, you either drink or you get a free bingo square for actively unwoke. I hope GoFundMe goes out of business for this, for what they did. That was unconscionable. $10 million they tried to steal and redistribute because they didn't like the cause. $10 million. Never, ever again. No one should be using GoFundMe. Yeah, exactly. Real Greg. I saw a video earlier of police stealing gas from the truckers. Bet she won't mention that the Canadian government is stealing their gas, their food, and their money, and now trying to get they're trying to get people to take away their kids. Oh my God. If Canada continues to support Justin Trudeau after this, I'm sorry to any Canadians that might be watching. You get exactly what you deserve. You never should have voted Trudeau back in the first place, and everything that's happening right now is because you voted Trudeau back in the first place. Well, maybe because there was a Canadian company that came out like last week that said, our bad, we lost 200,000 mail-in votes. This really happened. Did you guys hear about this? There was a Canadian mail-in voting company that came out like last week and said, we lost 200,000 votes, which would have been enough to swing the election. And people were like, okay, you want to count the votes? And they were like, nah, sorry. All right.
Friends, allow me to introduce you to Peter Thiel, billionaire investor and lifelong libertarian/conservative troll. Now, you might not be super familiar with him, but he has played a central role in funding a string of very familiar businesses like PayPal, Facebook, and Lyft. That's what made him famous, but here's what made him infamous. How he uses his giant gobs of money to fund personal agendas and, more importantly,
they're just mad
vendettas.
Peter Thiel's not
You probably
funding
remember
their
his first
causes.
highly publicized victim, which was Gawker, a New York-based blog that covered celebrities and media. Some of you probably frequented the site. I know I did. In 2007, according to Ryan Holiday, who wrote a book about the saga, Thiel was publicly outed by the website, and he was furious about it. The book alleges that Thiel was so angry that he went around calling Gawker the MBTO, which stood for Manhattan-based terrorist organization.
I'd be pretty pissed if someone outed me too, to be honest.
That he plotted his revenge, and in 2011, 4 years later, he found a way, and it involved wrestling superstar Hulk Hogan. You see, in 2012, Gawker decided to post secretly recorded videos of Hogan having sexual intercourse with his best friend's wife. Oops. Hogan was livid, and here's where
why does
Thiel
Joy Reid support posting secret sex tapes on the internet?
That he would secretly bankroll an entire lawsuit against Gawker. In 2016,
this isn't new information.
A year after Hogan sued, Gawker was found guilty and faced a $140 million judgment.
Good.
Gawker, which couldn't pay that amount, was forced to fold.
Good.
Thiel had effectively sued Gawker into oblivion. It's an odd personal mission for a libertarian who rails against the unnecessary policing of speech, but what do I know? A triumphant Thiel then set his sights on yet another aging, equally orange, but
that's actually
way
a really
less
libertarian thing to rail against
Donald Trump.
The unnecessary policing of speech. That's a very libertarian thing.
Thiel became President Donald's loudest ally and a close confidant. Today,
does Joy
Thiel
think
has a
that
new
libertarians
project,
support
investing in candidates running for
censorship? I mean, some of them
office
do,
in
but they're
this
not really
year's midterms,
libertarians.
who align with and can advance the Trump agenda. Joining me now is NBC News senior reporter Ben Collins, and back with me is DNC and DCCC advisor Kurt Bardella. Ben, you know, Peter Thiel is an interesting character. I mean, this is a real billionaire, not like Trump. $2.7 billion is his net worth. The companies that have received
Trump
funding
is actually
from him
a real
or his company
billionaire.
include Facebook, Lyft, Yelp, Airbnb, Palantir, which does like surveillance software the police use, PayPal, Stripe, SpaceX, is this thing called Zynga, which is a social game developer. So he's kind of into everything, but it's his belief system that I think is fascinating. People don't understand it. In his book about venture capitalism, Thiel himself argues that, among other things, that the founders are godlike that monarchies are more efficient than democracies.
Well, that's probably
and that
true,
cults
actually.
are a better organizational model than management consultancies. He's very anti-democracy.
That's probably
a
also
la
true.
Steve Bannon. Talk about
Most
how
libertarians
that kind of
are
influence
anti-democracy.
can play out given all that he's got his tentacles
Well, maybe
in.
not most, but many of them are anti-democracy.
Yeah, until this week he was on the board of Facebook. And I think you can sort of read the tea leaves of where he thinks things are headed with him leaving the board of Facebook, which is, which has taken stands against disinformation in the past, against the better judgment of, I don't know, a large part of the board, maybe. So you can see that happening now. Now he's investing in parallel structures in the internet. Places like Rumble, which is like a YouTube knockoff, but has been luring in
I am streaming on Rumble right now.
podcasters
In case
and
you're
people like
interested, I've started streaming on
to be
Rumble as of
exclusive to their
yesterday.
platform, or at least to post to their platform. So you can see now they're trying to create in that space. They're trying to create a parallel internet.
I still hate Rumble, but we're gonna try it out. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the
won't be affected
doubt.
at all by moderation in any capacity, except for the moderation. Of course,
Oh
if they want
no,
to be on
Rumble
there.
won't be affected by
That's
moderation.
the whole mission here, is to create an anti-elite internet, a separate internet, where they can create and craft their own narratives without much judgment.
Yeah. And by the way, if you haven't heard of Rumble, it's the site that offered Joe Rogan $100 million if he would switch to their site, where presumably he could say the N-word all he wants without anybody saying anything to him about it. And Kurt, the other sort of figure that's sort of a parallel figure to Steve Bannon very well. And the two of them are very similar.
About that. Sorry.
This is how Politico back, I think in 2018, this piece is dated, described the difference between Thiel and Bannon. It said Thiel is quite different from Bannon, but his ambivalence about democracy is even more explicit, shading over into outright contempt. A Silicon Valley libertarian who got rich by developing PayPal, Thiel historically likes his capitalism undiluted by sentimentality. He's sort of an even less sentimental version of Bannon, who people may remember, he was sort of like trying to dig into the Hollywood world and now hates that. Like, just talk about this kind of mindset within the Republican Party that wants the things that social media and Hollywood and then the sort of liberal community create, but they want to make it real right-wing and libertarian.
Yeah, and it stems from, again, especially for someone like Bannon, who people might forget, like started his career at Goldman Sachs. I mean, you can't get more like establishment than that. And these figures, it's so interesting. They want to tear down all of these things that they so desperately wanted to initially be a part of. And it goes back to even Donald Trump. Donald Trump started this whole thing. Why? Because he got made fun of at the White House Correspondents' Dinner one year by Barack Obama. And so, it's that thirst for approval that has them going, well, if you won't let me sit at the cool kids table, then I'm going to break yours and I'm going to make one of my own over here. And it's never lost on me, Joy, that all of these people who talk about the elites and the liberal elite and the Hollywood elite and the media elite, they're he's a billionaire, Joy. Yeah. He's not some redneck, up and coming, cowboy guy, pull him up by the bootstraps, living on minimum wage. This guy's a billionaire. The Trump Hotel, none of these people in MAGA world can afford to even stay at the Trump Hotel.
What are you talking about?
They get taken for this ride, this
what are you talking
that
about?
is set up by these uber rich people trying.
No one from the MAGA world can stay at the Trump Hotel. What bullshit is that? The Trump I've seen tons of MAGA people at Trump hotels. They assume that all Trump voters are stupid and poor. Are you shitting me? That's definitely not privileged and bigoted.
Of course, who's also a multi-millionaire hedge fund guy.
Wow,
who talks
that's what they think of you right there.
That, you cover this all the time, Ben. I mean, the messaging that's going out, it's all about, standing up to what they see as the man, right? Standing up against vaccines, saying don't get vaccinated, standing up against history teachers, making them the enemy. But all of this stuff feels like it's of a piece. The trucker thing, saying, truckers who don't want to get vaccinated are our heroes. The thing about it is, because they actually sort of work this through social media, it's really effective.
Yeah, and Vance's venture capital fund also, by the way, gave to Rumble around the same time that Peter Thiel did. So they are not, that's what we're working with here. We're working with some people who have some money to throw around on this sort of thing. That's
well,
what
they're
pissed
at Rumble. Then Rumble's doing something right. It's not fixing their website like they should be. But I got to give them credit for that.
Specific conspiracy movements, the QAnon people, the Proud Boys, all that stuff. But they haven't. They don't care about labels. They care about what their movement is doing, and their movement is largely anti-authority. They want to basically replace government with a new one, and if they have to do it by force, they don't mind that. Like they think it's revolutionary in this capacity, and that's what you see with a lot of the trucker convoys, the anti-vax protests in Europe as well. it's all one big global, what they would want to call a populist movement. But for most people, it would be called an anti-authority movement, right? A revanchist movement from times before. That's what's going on here.
There's nothing wrong
it's
with
not
that.
about labeling this like, oh, look at these QAnon people. It's a big soup now. They are not coming together around Donald Trump. They're coming together around the idea that government needs to be replaced.
Yeah, and around oligarchy, Kurt. I mean, this is a global movement that wants
when
to have
did the
a small
Democrats
group of
start
very,
defending
very rich
government?
people, free to do as they please, and they've got like a sort of vanguard of
Democrats
broke people
like kissing
just on the front lines.
of God. Thank you, government. Thank you.
That's
Thank
exactly
you for
right,
running
Joy.
on
And it's kind of the frustrating thing from a pure messaging standpoint. If you want to contrast the difference between the two political parties in this country, one party is for the rich. One party is using that power, that wealth. To
I
try
just
to
turned on a little
suppress
bit more to Rumble in the
other
course of this
classes
stream.
people in this country.
I was like,
and the people
I
who
was
would
like on a
benefit the
2
most,
out of
this is the
10
irony of it all,
on
the people who would
Rumble,
benefit the
and now
most
I'm
from
like at
Democrat
a
policies
5 out of 10.
are these middle American people. Are these farmers? When you look at the type of relief that was doled out by Donald Trump and Republicans in 2020, it was tax breaks for rich people. It was tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires.
I got a tax break. I'm not a millionaire.
The average person, the people that they try to hold up and prop up all the time, they don't stand a chance in their worldview. And it's the ultimate con.
I always say, watch what they've
that
done.
Guy is so bougie.
Rachel Maddow says all the time.
That guy
has
has probably never had a conversation with a non-Ivy League educated person in
when he
his
was
fucking
president.
life.
Wasn't building the wall. It was that tax break for the super rich. Watch what they actually pass. It's all about the money. It's all about the money.
Yeah,
always
Singh got a
follow the
tax
money.
break
Ben
and she's
Collins,
on a
Kurt
fixed
Bardella,
income.
Thank you both very much. And you know what? Kurt said it was about the different parties.
Wow. Wow. They literally said that Trump voters can't afford to stay at a Trump hotel. I have stayed at the Trump Hotel in D.C. on a couple different occasions. It's beautiful and awesome, and I really hope they don't sell it. I don't know if that went through or not. It's a beautiful hotel, and I saw plenty of MAGA people at the Trump Hotel in D.C. Everything, but the fact is that I do have to pay my mortgage somehow, and so if you want to support the work I'm doing, watching on YouTube really does help me out. Things like joining my locals community helps me out. And things like super chats. Alex S. helps me out. Alex says, thank you. You're intelligent, articulate, experienced, and amazing. I love listening to you and very much followed you since the start of your first Trump rally. You, Salty Cracker, Tim Pool, Kim Iverson, Jimmy Dore are my go-tos. Thank you, Alex S. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the support. And you know, I'm gonna keep trying to do my best. I do content almost every single day of the week except on Saturdays, because I think it's important and I think we need to be speaking up and fighting back. Bryant, yes, Rumble does allow streaming. Yes, they do. Such as it is. Again, I still prefer YouTube. YouTube allows me to sync the chat into my stream. I can't sync. I have to look at Rumble separately. I'll post the link to my Rumble. I'm also on Odyssey, which is actually my preferred alt text site. I'm also on Rockfin, which is a really good site as well. I like Rockfin too. I have no issues there. Rumble is probably my least favorite alternative at the moment. I genuinely hope they improve. There's so many things they need to improve on that website for the user experience. And of course, you can always watch my videos ad-free in locals as well. Even if you're just a free member at kb.locals.com, you can watch my videos ad-free. Emphasize says, I must have a moderator YouTube with my fixes. I guess so, Emphasize. Thank you for the support. Yep, I am streaming right now on Rumble. The people in the chat are going. Hello to Tommy Appleseed on Rumble. I'm on Gitter. Tommy asked about Gitter. I like Gitter a lot. I know some people have a problem with Gitter. I much prefer Gitter to Gab. If you want to follow me on Gitter, I'm just Carlyn, Karlyn. That is my handle on there. Please follow me on there. I would really like to be able to get away from Twitter. I hate Twitter. Twitter is a cesspool. It is the worst place on the internet, and I much prefer the energy of Gitter. So make sure you follow me on there as well. Qbert, I see you on Rumble. Qbert always is one of my supporters that prefers Rumble. So that's pretty great. I'm glad you found the stream. Qbert, I'll have you know, I set the stream up on Rumble just for you. Because I knew you preferred Rumble. Yeah, Sticks, Hex, and Hammer is really good. I just prefer, like, Sin says I'm on Gitter too. I just prefer the energy of Gitter, to be honest. I still have to do some stuff on Twitter just because it's where the people are, but I really hope that Gitter, you know, I think that people have been too hard on Gitter, to be quite frank. I prefer them significantly over Gab, like significantly over Gab. Gab has horrible energy to it. It's horrible low energy. Like, not that the people on Gab, all of them are bad. I'm not saying that. There are many great people that are on Gab. I actually like some of the functionality on Gab. I just really prefer Getter, to be honest. All right, I think we might be coming back. Maybe. Looks like some dramatic with Mika. Oh my god, I used to love Mika. Not anymore. Joe Scarborough has gone insane. Joe Scarborough is such a leftist. All right, she's back. Let's listen.
This afternoon, President Biden welcomed a group of utility company CEOs to the White House in his ongoing effort to fight climate change.
Look at this. They're all stuck
Build
on
Back
either
Better
side of
agenda.
the table.
Of course, that agenda has been declared DOA, dead on arrival, by West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, following an intense campaign to get him on board. Now, while everyone in politics has been wondering how they can convince and cajole Manchin to change his mind, maybe the actual answer is that you can't, because it's in his financial interest to say no. Maybe that's just the Occam's razor answer that people have been ignoring. Last month, Rolling Stone released a lengthy expose on Manchin's family fortune in the coal industry and how that influences his politics. And Politico has yet another deep dive into what one might call Manchin's corruption. As the article details, selling the scrap coal has earned Manchin millions of dollars over 3 decades, and he has used his political positions to protect the fuel from laws and regulations that also threaten his family business. So maybe it's time to stop begging Manchin to do what's right and just start exposing what he actually stands for. Joining me now is Scott Walsman, White House reporter.
Joe Manchin is a secret Republican.
E&E News.
We've got undercover and are exposing Joe Manchin is a secret Republican. He's a senator from West Virginia.
After a while, I started to realize that Manchin was never going to vote for Build Back Better, no matter what they did to it and how they distorted it, because he already got the thing he wanted. That's what I said on Stephen Colbert's show. What he wanted was what those 10 Republicans and 10 Democrats. Show the picture. They stood up there.
He literally, yes, exactly, Melissa.
Gave out $1.2 trillion.
Coal
this
miners.
Group, non-diverse, not a single diverse person in the room. They divvied up $1.2 trillion.
Oh, to my two senators. My two senators, Maggie Hassan.
He's going to benefit financially from
that.
Vote
for Jeremy Kauffman in New Hampshire to dethrone Maggie Hassan.
Well, one of the ways he could benefit from the bipartisan bill is that there's a bunch of funding in there for abandoned mine land cleanup, which is exactly one of the things that his business does. It's called Enter Systems. He founded it about 30 years ago, and it has this unique role.
Wait, are they angry at Joe Manchin for making money off of a business?
Coal mining to the single power plant in West Virginia that still burns this. He formed this business about 30 years ago and has been delivering this waste coal to this power plant, cleaning it up from abandoned mine lands. And he's made about $5 million alone since he's come to Congress. When he's first elected in 2010, his shares in the company are worth another $5 million. So it's been very, obviously very lucrative for him. And, this is something that sort of happened out in the open for decades, really.
Yeah,
how
like the
dare
20
Joe
people who
Manchin
gave out
represent
1.2.
his voters?
It's amazing. If it had been a bank robbery, it would have been like middle of the day.
He's supposed to represent the
with everybody
Democratic
in there
Party
and
and the
walking out with the
DNC
bags.
and Joy
I've never
Reid.
seen anything like it, right? But let's talk a little bit more about him, because Manchin says, well, it's in a blind trust. I don't have anything to do with it. But it's his son running the company. It's his family benefiting. And this man has made sure that, 90% of the energy out of West Virginia, a very poor state, comes from coal. You can't get away
Well, they're
from coal,
poor,
even
so
though
they
a lot
must
of
all
people
be
there
Trump
would like to.
voters. They can't afford to stay at the Trump hotels.
The West Virginia Public Service Commission, which determines the fate of a lot of coal plants, has actually worked to keep coal on the grid in West Virginia, even though it's losing tons of money. This power plant in particular, again, it's called the Granttown Power Plant that Manchin sells his coal to, has faced bankruptcy many times over the years. In 2006, when Manchin was governor, his appointee controlled the Public Service Commission. His chief of staff worked behind the scenes to get a sweetheart deal for this power plant, which was again on the verge of closing. And the PSC came back and gave the plant more money, which comes from the utility customers of West Virginia in their monthly electric bills. And it also gave it a longer contract, extended its contract
How dumb do you think Joy
until
Reid is?
2035. So
like on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the most dumb and 10 being really smart,
to keep this
how
one
dumb do
plant
you guys
going.
think Joy Reid
And
is?
anytime it sort of faces any sort of financial troubles, which has been many times over the years, it goes before the Public
I
Service
think she's
Commission
like a
and asks
3.
for more money.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, the Build Back Better bill, you know, there are some climate change provisions in the other bill, in the infrastructure bill, but the big bulk of it was in Build Back Better. And I mean, you write about things like him designating coal-related activity as helping climate change. No, it doesn't. I mean, like, he's found ways to reconfigure his coal business to get it under the rules.
He
so
represents the voters of West Virginia.
No, it's not.
That's right. In 2009, when he was governor, one of the last things he did before he came to the Senate in 2010 is he worked to craft a bill and signed a big renewable and alternative energy bill. They were going to get their grid from almost 100% coal to about 75% coal, and the rest would be renewable and alternative energy. Well, he put a provision in there that alternative energy would include waste coal, which, by the way, is extremely carbon intensive. It certainly adds to climate change significantly. And he said that this should count as part of West Virginia's, you know, alternative energy portfolio, along with natural gas and other fossil fuels.
It is remarkable to me that this has not been something that's been focused on, as people have thought that they could, you know, have some black pastor maybe convince them, or civil rights people.
I appreciate that.
When someone's financial interest is over here, they're staying over here no matter what you say. I appreciate you, Scott Waldman, for your great reporting.
Oh my God.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. And hopefully we will think more about this and talk
All right,
more about
guys,
this.
I'm rolling into Chris Hayes. We're going to keep going. I want to see what Chris Hayes has to say. Let's see what Chris Hayes is going to talk about tonight. We can hang out a little while longer. Mount that like button if you haven't already. Chris Hayes is about to start.
Tonight's Readout, all with Chris Hayes, starts now.
I know Joy Reid's the most crazy, but Chris Hayes has been catching up to Joy Reid in terms of crazy. So let's just see what he has to say.
All in. I say this to Republicans all the time. Take back your party from this cult.
The running man slows down, but
they want the establishment to take it back so badly, don't they?
Republicans can run, but they cannot hide from what happened on January 6th to call that legitimate.
Oh, really? Tim Pool has Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey? Good for him. Good for him.
Rudy Giuliani's reported attempt to commandeer voting machines.
That'll be a good show.
The anti-vax leader who just took a Capitol riot plea deal and subpoena day for the offensive coordinator of the Green Bay sweep. Then Congresswoman Katie Porter on the announcement of the stock trading ban for members of Congress, and the surprising rescue of the U.S. Postal Service after decades of Republican attempts to kill it.
The post office is losing billions of dollars.
Post office sucks. The post office stopped delivering my mail last week. Victor had to go yell at them. Emphasize, since Robin DiAngelo is racist, white supremacist, operating and irredeemable, why should I buy her books? You shouldn't. You shouldn't.
Running.
Thank you, Emphasize.
I played this clip of McCarthy yesterday. I've been chuckling about it for a day. So terrified of the prospect of having to say whether he thought the insurrection was good or bad.
Kevin McCarthy needs to find his balls.
Ran away from a reporter.
Kevin McCarthy needs to find his balls and say, fuck you, it wasn't an insurrection. It was a mostly peaceful protest. I don't know why Kevin McCarthy can't find his balls.
Of Representatives Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger.
This is Mitch McConnell's fault, by the way. That was Mitch McConnell's fault.
Legitimate political discourse.
How about legitimate political discourse? Did you agree with that characterization from the RNC?
Find your balls, Kevin.
Anybody, we all know this, that entered this building that rioted is not legitimate discourse. But I don't think that's what the RNC was talking about when we talked to them.
The RNC.
God, you've had over a year to get that statement correct, dude.
And they didn't distinguish between violent and nonviolent.
Republicans just set themselves up.
The resolution apparently did.
Every time for this bullshit. I don't understand it.
That an early draft of the RNC's resolution condemned Cheney and Kinzinger for participating in a Democrat-led persecution of ordinary citizens.
Why didn't they do this?
Engaged in nonviolent and legal political discourse.
Why didn't they do this? See, this is news to me. I didn't know this.
And legal was ultimately taken out and replaced with legitimate.
Why didn't they do that?
Kevin McCarthy is trying to straddle the unstraddleable here.
GOP fails again.
He condemns the idea the rioters at the Capitol were participating in legitimate political discourse, but says he does not think that's what the RNC really meant. He doesn't defend the insurrection, but he doesn't quite
defending your elected
either.
leaders. They suck.
Earlier today, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi slammed McCarthy for trying to have it both ways and running away from taking a stand.
If they just stood up to these people the day after January 6th, this never would have happened. We would never be in this position right now.
Trust me on that.
But they didn't. Even Tucker Carlson didn't find his balls to
pretty
stand up to them.
unequivocal about it. Several other Republicans are, of course, trying to do the same dance. Yesterday, we highlighted how Republican Governor Ron DeSantis was asked to take a side in the fight between Donald Trump and Mike Pence after Pence finally declared that Trump was wrong and he did not have the right to overturn the election. And like McCarthy yesterday, Ron DeSantis just refused to answer.
Bad DeSantis.
I'm not.
DeSantis needs to find his balls on this one as well, and I like DeSantis, but come on,
for 2 years with the Trump administration.
Who's right? Who's not? Who's to say? We saw the same kind of cowardly attempt to avoid the question from Wyoming Senator Cynthia Loomis when she was asked about the Republican National Committee's resolution censuring Representatives Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, the only Republicans on the Jan 6 committee. Senator Loomis called that, quote, an interesting approach that was novel and unique. She went out of her way to say it wasn't condemning or endorsing, just noting it was novel. But again, like I said yesterday,
your leaders are not going to start doing better until you
keep
demand
having it both ways.
I'm going to keep repeating this
Because
until
Donald
you
Trump
guys
is
get
going
it.
to force them to make the choice between his authoritarian cult and American democracy. That's simple. Yesterday, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell seemed to have grasped that, making it clear that he is, in fact, anti-coup.
Well, let me give you
Mitch
my view of
McConnell
what
is now a
happened
hero
January
on the
6th.
left.
And we're here. We saw what happened. It was a violent insurrection for the purpose of trying to prevent the peaceful transfer of power after a legitimately certified election.
Fuck you.
From one administration to the next.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
That is inarguably
Just
true.
threw the
McConnell
entire
said it
Republican
without
Party
even
under the
bringing up
bus.
Donald Trump's
And he
name, even
did
though
it.
Trump is, of
Hang
course,
on.
responsible.
I'm gonna bring the volume
McConnell
down.
just laid
He
out
did that. Mitch McConnell did that because he thinks you guys are gonna forget in 5 years. He just got reelected. He thinks you guys are gonna forget. That's why he did that.
Sense, if not outright courage, the sad senator from Texas is going in the opposite direction as per usual. You may remember when he thought it was politically safe, even advantageous to do so, Ted Cruz repeatedly called January 6th domestic terrorism before Tucker Carlson called him out, and he made an utterly humiliating appearance on Fox to beg for forgiveness.
You called this a terror attack when by no definition was it a terror attack.
I mean,
That's a
Tucker
lie.
Carlson has not found
You
his
told that
balls
lie
on this either, by
purpose,
the way.
And I'm wondering why you did.
Have you guys seen Brandon Strzok on Tucker Carlson yet?
When
No.
you aired your episode last night, I sent you a text shortly thereafter and said, listen, I'd like to go on because the way I phrased things yesterday, it was sloppy and it was frankly dumb.
Tucker, thank you. Thank you for calling me out, and thank you for realizing how dumb I am. Ted Cruz learned his painful lesson there, and so today he is, of course, out attacking Mitch McConnell, which is the point of all this, conditioning that those folks are up to, hoping Trump or Tucker is watching and will tell him that he's a good boy.
Yesterday, McConnell said that what happened on January 6th was a violent insurrection. You agree with him that it was a violent insurrection?
The word insurrection is politically charged propaganda. It is happily used by Democrats and the corporate media. I think it is a mistake for Republicans to repeat the political propaganda of Democrats and the corporate media.
Yes, thank
Doing
you,
great,
Ted.
Ted, maybe he'll have you on tonight. Donald Trump, of course, could not be left out. He released
Tucker's ratings are much higher than
that he,
yours,
quote,
Chris.
does not speak for the Republican Party, does not represent the views of the vast majority of its voters. He did nothing to fight for his constituents and stop the most fraudulent election in American history.
Trump is correct. Mitch
What it really comes
McConnell
down
does
to
not
for
represent
Republicans,
his
again,
voters,
trying to
which is
straddle
why
this
I don't
line,
know why
this
he got
chasm,
reelected.
is that Donald Trump right now
I don't know why people are
controls
voting
the
for
base
him,
of their party.
but here we are.
The hardcore
Chris
parts
Hayes
of
is
that
a 2,
base are
Annabelle.
blindly
You are
loyal.
correct.
They've sort of sworn their fidelity to Donald Trump. And if a member of the Republican Party wants that base of support and Trump support, Trump will accept nothing less than an endorsement of the insurrection. That's the thing, okay? That's why this is unstraddleable.
I
Because
endorsed
Trump's
the insurrection.
position,
It was awesome.
stated position,
And I said it was
is that
awesome
the
at the time.
insurrection was
and I
good,
maintain that.
actually.
Not the violence. I do
And that
not
was his
condone
position on
violence
January
ever.
6th,
Violence is
when he
bad.
sicked the crowd on the Capitol. It was his position when
But
he
I
sent this
condone
menacing
every
tweet
part
while
of
the
the
Capitol was still
peaceful
under
protests
siege,
that happened that
condemning
day.
his vice president for not
And I
having
said
the
it was
courage
beautiful
to
at
do
the
what should have been
time.
done.
and I got a rash of shit
That was
for
his
it, but I was
position when
right.
he watched the violence unfold. And as the Associated Press reports, his attention was so rapt that he hit rewind and watched certain moments again and was confused by staffers weren't as excited as he was. It was his position.
It was
then,
our V for
it is his
Vendetta
position
moment.
now.
It was our Guy Fawkes moment.
It will be his position forever.
It didn't go as planned.
Donald Trump does
That's
not take
all
the
right.
position, oh, well, that was unfortunate. Let's move on. No.
Guy Fawkes'
Donald Trump's
attempted
position
blow
is
of Parliament
that was
didn't go as
good
planned
and
either.
right and correct.
I don't condone
I tried
violence.
every
I'm making
avenue
a
to
joke.
overturn the election. Again, that phrase used by him himself. I wish the insurrection had worked. And the real insurrection was Election Day, because any small d Democratic election that threw me out of office is by definition illegitimate, because I should be in power for life. That's the position.
not what he's.
That's what
no.
you're called to accept.
No.
That's the position Donald Trump
Fake
demands
news,
of
Chris
anyone who wants to
Hayes.
support and the support of his base.
Chris Hayes
And it is a
such
position that
oh my
honestly
God.
almost no one in Republican politics, well, certainly not the majority of them, can actually say out loud. They can't say it. It sounds nuts and evil when you say it, because it is. So a
I
lot
want
of
to
people are
debate
frozen
Chris
by it.
Hayes. I want to
Just look at
debate
this.
him.
This is
I would
interesting.
debate
Fox
him.
News, part of the corporate
Well, media
you might even call it,
matters.
their
Oh.
non-existent coverage of those two huge stories over the past few days, the RNC condemning Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, referring to January 6th as legitimate political discourse, and Mike Pence saying he had no right to overturn the election. According to Media Matters, the network's most prominent figures have ignored those developments. And you can imagine them leaning into those stories, focusing on the ex-president's pushback, saying, here's Trump sticking it to those rhinos. Or you can imagine them bashing Kinzinger, Cheney, and
is
Pence
such a
themselves.
geek. Oh
They've
my
opted to do neither and not
God.
just not mention it all. Because again, every Republican with any brain cells who isn't an outright sociopath recognizes it is an impossible choice between the Trump cult and keeping American democracy alive. And it's one they would very much like to avoid. Thank you very much. But I am telling you, they cannot.
I'm
And
so
every
glad
day
we
we're
stayed
learning
for
more
Chris
and more
Hayes.
about
I'm
just
so
how
glad we stayed.
strenuously
This
and
is
earnestly
hilarious.
Trump and his
This is
allies
amazing.
really did pursue firing a gun into the head of American democracy after 245 years. Today, the Washington Post reported on new evidence showing how the Trump team pushed their claims the election was illegitimate. A Republican prosecutor in northern Michigan told the Post that in the weeks after the 2020 election, Rudy Giuliani and other legal advisors, the president, asked him to get his
Rudy
county's
Giuliani was such a
voting
failure in
machines
all this.
and pass them to Team
Rudy
Trump.
Giuliani was part of the problem.
The prosecutor refused to comply with
Not
that blatantly
because of blatant
inappropriate,
incompetence.
I would
Let's be
guess,
honest.
unlawful
Blatant
request,
incompetence being
telling
too
the Post,
old.
quote, I never expected in my life I'd get a call like this. John Swain is investigative reporter for the Washington Post, one of the people who broke that Michigan Giuliani news today. Annie Carney is a New York Times congressional correspondent whose latest piece on the Republican schism is titled McConnell Denounces RNC Censure of January 6th panel members, and they both join me now. John, let me start with you with your great reporting out of Michigan. It is a wild story. Who is this prosecutor?
It's actually not
and
that exciting.
Who contacted him to try to acquire custody of the voting machines in his county?
The prosecutor is a guy named James Rossiter. He is the top prosecutor in Antrim County, Michigan. He's a Marine veteran, a Republican, and he was called several times after the election by a lady named Catherine Freese. She's not very well known, but she's a Republican lawyer, former lobbyist, who was working for Rudy Giuliani after the election. And in one of the calls, she put him on speakerphone, and suddenly he said he was talking to Rudy Giuliani, Catherine Freese, Patrick Byrne, the former Overstock chief executive, and Bernie Kerrick, the former New York police commissioner. And they asked him, can you get the voting machines and pass them to us?
We have seen a...
And he declared.
We've seen a real, like, get the machines theme emerge from a lot of the reporting out of this, the executive order that was drafted, Sidney Powell sort of brainstorming on this. This is another, but this is the first ever documented direct ask, I think, that we've seen in the reporting of saying, like, can you actually physically give them to us, right?
I think that's right. And actually, this goes further than that. The prosecutor did decline to give them the machines, but they got them another way. Behind the scenes, Giuliani's team helped a local Trump supporter file a lawsuit, didn't really get much notice. No one knew it was happening. A judge who had donated to Trump a couple of weeks earlier gave them a court order that gave them access to the machines. They produced a sort of forensic-looking report alleging fraud. Wow. And that report has become a keystone in the election fraud conspiracy.
In terms of the dynamic on Capitol Hill right now, Annie, in the aftermath of this, both the Pence statement and the RNC.
This is really boring. I'm just waiting until the
censure.
commercial to
How
do
would
a
you
couple, to do a
characterize the
super
dynamic
chat
there? I
and
mean,
check
we're
in with you
watching,
guys.
senators, members of the House run away from microphones or give statements like Loomis saying like, well, it's novel. You got to
Oh, that was so stupid that Kevin McCarthy did that.
seeing from your
Just stop apologizing. Why is it
the statements you're
possible
hearing all
that
depend
I
on
know
how
to stop
safe
apologizing
the
and
lawmaker
politicians
you're
haven't
hearing
figured this
from
out
is
yet?
from having to kowtow to Donald Trump? Mitch McConnell gave a very strong statement yesterday, but he's very safe.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to be removed from minority leader if they win back the Senate. He is going to be the majority leader. His caucus likes him. Donald Trump doesn't have a lot of power over him.
The
Kevin
fact that
McCarthy's
Mitch McConnell would be the majority
depends
leader
a
over
lot
Ted
on Donald Trump.
Cruz.
He is not as in
If
control
Mitch
of his own
McConnell
future
becomes
as
the
Mitch
majority
McConnell
leader,
is.
if
So
they
we
take back
see
Senate,
the
I'm
running
sorry.
away clip, which
Fuck
was
the GOP.
kind of funny just for the
My
fast pace that they were all walking at. But it's a much harder tightrope that he's walking, that he's always walking, because he can't risk alienating Donald Trump and having those statements being called
I cannot
whatever the old
believe
crow
how
version would
weak
be
the
for
GOP is. I cannot
McCarthy. He can't risk
believe it.
that.
No, I
So
can.
we're seeing people go out on a ledge as far as they are able to, given how safe they are with their position. And but I mean, the RNC has clearly put all of the lawmakers in a bad spot. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think, said the way to remove Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger is to vote them out of office. This is, I think, broadly speaking, even the
She is
Republicans
correct.
who are
Yes.
doing some version of defense,
And they will be voted out of
Hawley
office.
said,
They will not have
this
their
is-
positions
this
after
is
the
what
election.
Our grassroots members
They will be done.
believe. So it is an accurate representation of what they believe. Even
She's got like mood lighting. She's got like a candle burning
all
in
of
the
them, I think, would
background.
be prefer to talk about Joe Biden,
Man.
about inflation. This has dragged them into, a week-long story about the fissures in the Republican Party, when there are fissures in the Democratic Party they'd much rather be focusing on that would be more politically helpful to them.
Right. Although I will note that fissure is not between whether the coup was good or bad, which is the problem for them, because Donald Trump really does think it's good. I don't think that's a misstatement or mischaracterization. I just don't think he doesn't think it was a regrettable, sad day. I
Many
mean,
of us
he's been
thought
pretty
it
clear
was
about
good.
that. Election day was regrettable and sad, and the Democratic election that
I'm going to do a
the people
poll
of America chose
on
Joe
YouTube.
Biden was. And again,
Sorry, Rumble, I
that's
can't do
not
it over there.
That's not a view
Do
you can kind of finesse or
think
massage.
January
There's also the
6th
fact that
was good or bad?
The RNC statement was written for,
Good,
the proverbial audience
bad.
of one who enjoyed it, who
Poll
issued a
live,
statement
YouTube.
congratulating
Register
Ronna
your
McDaniel
answers.
and the
Was
RNC
January
for
6th good or
the
bad?
statement. They have since tried to thread the needle, saying they were talking about nonviolent protesters, but it was written in a way that was designed for Donald Trump to hear.
This is what they do, Melissa. They talk about the same things over and over and over again, and people watch them all night. I used to watch MSNBC all night. I used to watch MSNBC all day, all night. They say the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and then it becomes
You're careful
real.
about what you say.
They brainwash
You're
people.
not just throwing any
I
old
would
thing in the
hunker
pages of the
down
New
for
York
like a
Times or the
good night of
Washington Post or on my
MSNBC, like
program
8 o'clock.
here.
I watched Chris Hayes,
You
Rachel
choose words
Maddow,
advisedly.
Lawrence.
They did too, and they made their choice, and now they're living with it.
I made
John,
Victor watch all of them too.
Just final question for you on this story. I mean, I guess the question is this the end of what we know coming out of this particular hotspot of the 6 or 7 states that they were active in?
This was something that they used to try to pressure lawmakers in multiple battleground states. The evidence that they got from the machines they got access to was put into this report. It made its way to the very top of the federal government. The president and the attorney general and officials in the Justice Department were looking at it as well. And it really shows how close they got to sort of going ahead with a plan to use the power of the federal government to seize these machines, to recount ballots, to somehow prove that there was fraud, and to overturn the election. And Donald Trump himself on the stage on January 6th cited Antrim County, the county in Michigan we're talking about, as proof of the election being stolen, and shortly after his supporters stormed the Capitol.
All right, John Swain, Annie Carney, thank you both. That was great. Coming up, he came on MSNBC to describe what amounts to a coup. Now Peter Navarro has a date with the January 6th committee.
Never go
Plus,
on
she is the
MSNBC.
founder of the anti-vax doctors group who just took
Simone
a plea deal
Gould.
for infiltrating
Simone
the Capitol
Gould
on January 6th.
and her boyfriend.
Both of those stories next.
They did walkaway rallies. I'm going to actually be interested to hear about the plea deal that she took. Of course, we aren't going to trust MSNBC's version of the plea deal, but I'm actually going to be interested to see what happened. All right, we got a couple super chats to do. Sorry, I wanted to wait for a commercial for you guys. Emphasize says, some didn't get the memo that nods were being traded for Biden votes. Biden won, and now we all get to lick the spoon. Well, yeah. I'm not going to comment on what I think happened there because I could get banned off YouTube and my Rumble numbers aren't up yet. So got to get the Rumble numbers up before I get banned off YouTube. You know, that's just how it goes. And then I had another chat from, let me see, hang on. Alex S. Thank you, Alex. Elect me and I'll fight for retroactive term limits and prosecution of crooked politicians. If you elect me as governor of New Hampshire, I have made several promises of what I'll do. Do you guys want to use this commercial time to talk about what I'll do as governor of New Hampshire? All right, here we go. I know you didn't say yes, but hang on. Let me take the big stage. They're on commercial. You don't need to see that. If I am elected governor of New Hampshire, I will on day one issue an executive order mandating a camera in every school classroom that takes state money to be functional, that takes our taxpayer dollars, and they have 6 months to put the cameras in those classrooms, and those cameras will broadcast over the internet for parents of students in those classes so they can see what they're teaching. If they don't do it within 6 months, they lose their state funding. That is a day one executive order. I will also push legislation to make the property tax optional in New Hampshire because the property tax, 2/3 of our property tax in New Hampshire funds the public schools. And so we're going to make it optional. If you believe the public schools are doing a great job and you want to fund the public schools, then you can fund the public schools. If you do not believe the public schools are doing a great job, guess what? You can take that money, instant education freedom account. If you have children, you can take your property tax money and use that money to get them into alternative educational resources. And if you do not have children, guess what? You shouldn't be paying for the public schools anyway because you don't even effing use them. Other things I will do is I will renounce all federal gun laws. They will not be enforceable in New Hampshire any longer. I will also refuse cooperation with all federal law enforcement agencies. So we ain't going to be cooperating with the FBI or the CIA or any of these other things. We're not going to do that in New Hampshire. We can take care of our business ourselves, and I don't trust any of them anyway, so F them. Let's see. What else have I promised? I think that's pretty much it. Those are my big campaign initiatives at the moment. Cameras in classrooms, day one. Property tax optional. Not following any federal gun laws and not working with any federal law enforcement agencies. That is what I will do when I am elected governor of New Hampshire. My additional platforms include that Chris Sununu can suck my dick and vote for Jeremy Kauffman for Senate. Jeremy Kauffman is a libertarian running for Senate against Maggie Hassan and Chuck Morris, who is a boring Republican candidate. Maggie Hassan is the Democrat. Jeremy Kauffman will serve all of us much better than either of these two individuals. You can support his campaign at jeremy4newhampshire.com. That is the name Jeremy, Jeremy, the number 4, not the word 4, the number 4, nh.com. Please. Oh yes, Reagan. Thank you. We'll also be decriminalizing all natural drugs. So like weed and mushrooms and all that stuff. Thank you for reminding me of that promise. All right, we're coming back. Vote for me.
Plotting the attempted coup. He's a man of many talents. He's been pretty open about it. Navarro calls the plan the, quote, Green Bay sweep.
Probably true.
And not only did he write a book about it in his book, he was literally
Probably
just
true.
on MSNBC on The Beat with Ari Melber, boasting about the plot he cooked up with Steve Bannon.
Why did he go on this show?
We had over 100
So
congressmen and
stupid.
senators.
Don't go on
Capitol
leftist
Hill
media
ready
ever.
to implement the sweep. The sweep was simply that. We were going to challenge the results of the election in the 6 battleground states. They were Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada. And basically, these were the places where we believed that if the votes were sent back to those battleground states, and looked at again, that there would be enough concern amongst the legislatures that most or all of those states would decertify the election.
Doesn't Ari
That
Melber
would
look
throw
haggard?
the election
He looks so
to the
old.
House
He
of
didn't used to look this old. I met him in person. He did not look this old.
Describing
He has aged a lot in 2 years.
No.
Gonna side with Ari on that one. That was just last month. Navarro told another journalist Trump was
I'm
on
gonna
board with
side
strategy,
with Ari.
and that Representative Paul Gosar and Senator Ted Cruz were among the 100 lawmakers ready to implement the plan. Neither Cruz, nor Gosar, nor Navarro, nor Trump have really faced any kind of legal repercussions for their plans on January 6th. But of course, hundreds of people who stormed the Capitol have. Like this woman, Dr. Simone Gold, seen here with a bullhorn inside the Capitol on January 6th. Gold is the founder of a group called America's Frontline Doctors, which sprung up last year decrying lockdowns, pushing debunked COVID treatments like hydroxychloroquine, and spewing anti-vax rhetoric. Gold was already in D.C. for an anti-vaccine rally on January 5th, and then joined the crowd.
That wasn't
at
an
the Capitol the
anti-vaccine
next
rally.
day.
That was not an anti-vaccine
She was there
rally.
because, well, she told the Washington Post all about it just days later, confirming, quote, she went inside the Capitol, saying she followed a crowd and assumed it was legal to do so. She also told the paper she regretted being there. Well, Dr. Simone Gold was arrested soon after that interview and charged with 5 counts, including obstructing an official proceeding. She originally pled not guilty, and then yesterday reached a plea deal with prosecutors. We still don't know the details of that deal.
Oh, you don't know
Dr.
the
Gold is
details, but
still
you're
out
reporting
and
on it
about
anyway.
peddling
Okay.
anti-vax nonsense. Zoe Tillman is a senior legal reporter for BuzzFeed News, where she's been covering
Look at the concern in her
prosecutions for the
eyes.
January 6th insurrection, and she joins me now. Zoe, what can you tell us about Dr. Gold's case?
You know, her case, in one sense, is one of the more high-profile ones, just because she is a known entity. She was a speaker at the rally, the Health Freedom Rally, the day before January 6th. You know, one of the more bold-faced names that we've seen prosecuted. In another sense, her case is one of the more garden variety ones that we've seen in the context of 730-plus cases. She's not charged with assaulting police. She's not charged with conspiracy. She was indicted along with an associate, John Strand, of obstructing an official proceeding, which is one of the most serious felonies that's been charged in these cases. It's been a way for prosecutors to differentiate between the rioters.
Oh, she went outside of the velvet ropes. Oh, no.
They walked in and they walked out, versus defendants where the government believes there's more evidence of their intent, that they went in to obstruct what Congress was doing that day. And Simone Gold's case is one of those. You know, whether her plea deal takes her down to just a misdemeanor count, which has been common in some of the plea deals we've seen so far, where people charged with felonies have taken a deal for one of the lesser charges. We still need to see what the terms of the deal are. But, you know, in one sense, her case is quite notable, and in another sense, it's quite illustrative of what we've seen so far.
Well, what's striking to me, too, is the kind of joined at the hip nature of these two ideological factions in American life, the Health Freedom Rally on the 5th and the people that stormed the Capitol on the 6th with Dr. Gold in the Venn diagram. I mean, America's Frontline Doctors, which she founded, is not a fringe group insofar as it has been cited by Republicans in many circumstances. They've appeared in congressional testimony.
And they've turned out to be
Johnson's committee,
right.
if I'm not mistaken.
They've turned out to be
The current
right.
Florida Surgeon General, Joseph Ladapo, has appeared on stage with Dr. Gold. So this group is very much front and center in Republican pandemic politics.
It is, that's right. And it's worth noting that Dr. Gold is a licensed doctor in California. Her medical license is current. You know, once she pleads guilty and is convicted of a crime, that is something that will need to be reported to the medical board. It doesn't necessarily mean that she will lose her medical license. But, you know, I think January 6th was really a convergence of a lot of grievances, separate but intertwined with the election. And so there are other defendants who had gone to the
This is so
Health
much
Freedom
more
Rally,
boring
were
than Joy
carrying
Reid.
signs about their opposition to vaccines.
We're going to stick
and
with it a
masks
minute
and
more, just
lockdowns,
because
really
you don't
joined
know.
together the idea that their anger at the handling of the pandemic was related to what they saw as a stolen
I don't know how I
election.
used
It
to
was
watch
this-
this.
this
I really
really
don't.
broad
I don't
airing
know
of
how I
grievances
used to watch
at the
this. It is
Capitol.
like,
and I think Dr.
it is
Gold
like
was really
peering
sit at the
through a
center
window
of that
into an
that confluence.
alternate reality.
Final question for you is the timeline here. It's it's interesting to me. I mean, something we've returned to time and again on the reporting on this, largely from you and Ryan Riley. It's just the kind of logistical processing that this is taking, particularly for that DC U.S. Attorney's Office, that, you know, she was arrested a year ago and just kind of hanging out there and entering a plea today. Is that timeline fairly typical?
Yes, because you guys are fucking around into playing cases.
Kept in jail after their arrest, they aren't considered threats going forward to the community, allowed to go home. They've been considered less of a priority in terms of moving things along with production of evidence, setting schedules. We know back in December, I believe, that a plea offer had been extended, which is typical for cases that aren't just misdemeanor cases, the misdemeanor cases being the first wave of plea deals, now moving into some of the felony cases, getting plea offers extended and deciding whether to take those or go to trial. So it does fit the timeline, but it's a long timeline and we have a ways to go.
I wish some of these cases would actually go to trial. To be honest, I'm going to say
it turns out Congress can get things through the House with strong bipartisan support. They just won't do it when anyone's watching, crossing party lines to help save the post office after this.
All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up, mostly because we already heard the post office story and it was already boring in Joy Reid's hour. And so I bet it's going to be more boring under Chris Hayes. So I apologize if you were joining that, but I've been going for an hour and a half and this is my second stream of the day and I would like to go hang out with the husband. So that was Joy Reid / MSNBC live reaction stream. If this was your first glimpse into the insanity that is MSNBC, I'm sorry. I really do feel it is like looking into an alternate universe for me. I used to watch this shit all the time, all day, every day. And I was very conscious about it too. I was like, I only want to hear from the most extreme voices on my side. It was a conscious decision and I now regret it. But I can look back on it and at least have some fun. But thank you for spending some time with me. Please make sure you mount that like button on the way out the door. And also please make sure you subscribe to the channel if you aren't subscribed already. I am streaming every day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on my main channel now at 5 p.m. Eastern time. On Fridays, we go over to my second channel, Actively Unwoke. On Saturdays, I rest. Tomorrow, we've got a great chat planned. We are going to have Mr. Harrison Kemp, who is running for governor in Maine as an anarchist. And Harrison's going to come on and tell us about the things that he stands for and what you can do to help his campaign. We're trying to get him in the debates. We got to collect a bunch of signatures, and he automatically gets on the debate stage in Maine. So how amazing would it be to have an anarchist on the debate stage in Maine? I think that'd be really great. Just a reminder, too, that you can still sign up for the free webinar that I have on Friday. I'm bringing on Mom Nicole Solis to teach all of us how to write public records requests. Next week, I also have a webinar with Paul Rossi where he's going to give us an inside preview, or not preview, but look into what your taxpayer dollars are paying for when you are paying for equity training among teachers. It is going to be shocking. It is so shocking that Twitter has already censored the content because Paul tried to post it on Twitter. Twitter censored the content. He had to start posting it on Getter, but he's going to show us in a private webinar what the teachers are really being trained to do when it comes to equity. I would also ask that you join my locals community if you want to support the work I'm doing. You can always join for free at kb.locals.com just to get access to it and to lurk around the community. But if you want to really support the work, and this is how I'm able to keep doing it, guys, I'm very, very grateful for my locals members. You can join for $5 a month. You can join for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can make a one-time gift. And when you join my locals community as a supporter, you get access to exclusive perks. You get 2 Zoom calls a week with me and the rest of the community. You can join our Bitchcraft on Saturday. We're getting together for a crafting session and complaining and conversation and all that stuff. You can also join my book club, which is going to be happening on February 20th. Still plenty of time to read this book and come and have a great chat with us about how totalitarian regimes imprint their will on the minds of their citizens. And that all happens when you become a member of my locals. I greatly appreciate the support, guys. I can't do it without you. All right, I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. for a stream with Harrison. Until then, have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you soon.